Hello, this is Sharona Hassan. Welcome to Connecting Jewish Grandparents, the Grand Plan podcast. But today's episode is definitely not just for grandparents. This is for really everyone. I made a TikTok earlier in the week, last week maybe, and it was about how Rosh Hashanah came and went and we've started a new year. So what? How do we make that actionable, right? Like, don't give up, keep going. That was the general premise of the TikTok. And then somebody wrote very quickly in the comments, but how? How do I practically do something in this Aseret Yemei Teshuvah, in this 10 days of repentance? How do I practically make something happen? And that's when I realized that that answer definitely couldn't be in the 300 words or characters or whatever in a TikTok answer. And the answer probably I'm not sure I can really finish it in today's podcast, but at least I want to start. I want to open the doors and share the big secrets of Teshuvah because everyone needs to know them. I keep using the word Teshuvah. If you don't know it, the general English term in its place is repentance. But they don't line up. It's the closest I can give you. And we are in, as I mentioned, the Aseret Yemei Teshuvah, the 10 days of repentance, as they're generally referred to, the high holy days that start with the first 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, then a solid week in the middle, right? So that's 2 plus 7 plus 1 for Yom Kippur brings us to these 10 days. And in this time, we are meant to be working on Teshuvah, on this process of self-improvement, so that on Yom Kippur, at this highest, holiest moment, we are written and we are sealed in the book of everything good for the year to come. So no problem, right? Except as this person wrote in their comments, and probably everybody knows, it's never that easy. So what is the secret that I want to share with you? I guess it's not really one secret, except that for the majority of my life, I also asked this question, and the answer, I guess, that was generally given is Rambam, Maimonides' codification of the Hilchot, the laws of Teshuvah, and it is a really well written out, codified system of how you repair from misdeeds between another person. Like we'll go with that and it'll end with the Almighty, right? How you repair specific things to fix them. But that was good. It's useful. We need it, but it doesn't always answer what it is, what we're doing in these 10 days of repentance and the rest of the time. Because Rambam's Hilchot Teshuvah really helps if you know the thing that you have done that you need to fix. If you're able to identify the problem, then there's a solution. But what if it's not so clear cut? Like, I can't think of anything in such a big way that I did or didn't do that I need to fix. Like, sure, I should be more this and pray with more intention and, help people more and whatever. But it wasn't like I did this one thing and I need to fix it. Okay, I'm rambling a lot on my own struggle with it because I want to share the big relatable to me solution, and that is not in the Rambam, but in the writings of Rav Kook. So, Rav Kook, I'm not going to give a full bio of who he was. If you are not familiar, like open, I don't know, Wikipedia or Google it or whatever. Right now, Rav Kook is in many ways considered the founder of religious Zionism. He was born in Lithuania and came to pre-state Israel in I think 20 maybe, and then became a Rav, and he became the first Ashkenazic chief rabbi of pre-state. And again, I can go into his bio, but what he was as a person was just absolutely phenomenal because he was able to bring two worlds, two very different worlds together and give value and purpose to both of them. And as we today right? 100 years later, are trying to hold up so many worlds simultaneously. He really gives us the keys to being able to do that in insightful and spiritual and thoughtful ways. And he wrote and he spoke and he did. When I say he held up two worlds, what I mean by that, I'm really in a long introduction without explaining his writings, but we're going to get there. We're going to get to the Teshuva point, I promise. Um, the early Zionists were mostly not religious individuals, and they were out and they were settling the land and they were doing and they were working, like Theodore Herzl was in no way religious. And then you have Rav Kook, who's coming from the yeshiva system in Eastern Europe, and it was a completely different world than, how do you balance the intellectual world and the physical world and the religious world and the secular world? And that is what Rav Kook did so well. And he wrote, and his writing is so poetic and beautiful. You really need help analyzing and understanding. So today we're going to try to analyze and understand his work that is called Orot HaTeshuva. It's actually a compilation of his work that his son published after he passed. And then I have a translation that I'm having, a illumination of the text that I'm having help me today, which is called the Art of Teshuvah, the teachings of Harav Kook, Harav Avraham Yitzchak HaKohen Kook. And I think I'll put a link in the show notes because I really love this book. And though there's many, many others, you can get many others illuminating Orot HaTeshuva. Okay. Now finally, I'm going to open the book and unpack it with you. Are you ready? Are you ready? Because his model of Teshuvah is so unique and so powerful. Okay. But it doesn't start so out there. It just ends so out there. What is his first step? He says there's really a three-step process of Teshuvah, of repentance. And the first one is completely physical. Completely physical. Okay, so if our repentance isn't person to person, it's just improving us as a person. Then if we need to prove ourselves, the first step is physically improving ourselves. This is physical health we're talking about. More than 100 years ago, this Rav is explaining that the first step to improving yourself in the highest, holiest way is your physical health. Are you eating right? Are you physically taking care of your body? Are you exercising? These are questions that you probably ask yourself. You definitely are seeing it in self-help books and in videos, and we talk about it in the coaching, but not as directly. Okay. Physical health. Call the doctor. Look after yourself. You get one body from the Almighty, and if you're not looking after it, what are you doing? Now, when Rav Kook was saying this, he really got a lot of backlash because the model of the people learning in yeshiva, the religious Jews, they were not concerned about physical health. That seemed so physical and not spiritual, and it really was counter to what they believed in. Who cares what your body is? It's what your soul is. It's what your intellect is. And Rob Cook says, no, absolutely not. If you can't look after your body, what are you even doing? We can, they describe messianic times as the fruit blooming from the trees. You still have to plant those trees. You have to be physically strong enough to do the thing. So that's Rav Kook's first step. And that one, I really want you to think about how you can implement that, how you can move your health along in one or many ways that you probably been thinking about or pushing off. Maybe it's diet, maybe it's exercise, maybe it's that doctor's appointment to look into the thing you didn't look into. Maybe it's going to sleep earlier. I could come up with a really long list, but you know what it is for you. And that's part of what makes this teshuvah process so incredibly personal. All right. So you've got that. Step one of teshuvah, of improving yourself, is your own personal physical health. It's the ultimate level of gashmiut, of physicality. It's you. Step two. Ready? Again, you think it's going to be this big spiritual thing. I mean, it is, but it's about being a good person. Okay. It's not about how religious you are or how it's just being a good moral thoughtful person. And again, in the same way that physical, it's not like with the Rambam, you this, then you do this, then you do this, and you just, it's completely personal. You know where your moral shortcomings are. And maybe they're enormous and maybe they're tiny, but you know where they are for you and you know how to work on them. And maybe it involves, a therapist or a book or a friend or a coach. But you know the steps to be moral, to be better. Is it, I don't know, anger management? Is it calling that person that you are avoiding more often to repair that situation? I'm talking about Teshuva, but like it's not like I did something so wrong. I just sort of, left them on red. Be moral, be right, do the right thing. So there, I'm going to leave you the second one. First was figure out something for your physical health and your Teshuva process. And number two is how you can be a better and moral person. And then Rav Kook says, number three, it's not like first you finish one, check, and then you finish two, and then you get on to three. Because you can do all of them simultaneously. You really have to. You can't just get a better night's sleep and then stop. Like you have to work on that. And being a better and more moral person, that doesn't end. So you're always working on all of these levels. It's just about being the intentional in them within the realm of Teshuvah. And the number three is where we get really deep and really spiritual and really holy. And that is aligning us with the divine. Right there, we stick God into. The whole time we didn't really have God in the picture. I mean, I said we only get our body from Him. But this is where we get, I don't know, into the text, into the Jewish law, into mitzvot, into how we serve. That is the next step. Like, as if we need to get closer to God, to be in our ideal state, then we have our mitzvot. Like God gave us the formula of being closer to Him. He gave us the mitzvot. We need to get on the physical health. We need to get on the moral behavior. And then we've got the guidebooks. We know how to do it. But it's not just doing it. Rav Kook's explanation for number three is about us aligning our will with the divine will. And I don't want to get too off the track here because it's so deep and it's really very hard. But that level of teshuvah is like reducing and negating yourself to be aligning and elevating with God. You have to know that He is Him and you are you, and that you are a part of Him. That is called teshuvah. Well, there's Rav Kook calls it one thing, but everyone else says it's really teshuvah of ahava, of love, that it's coming to love the divine and appreciate what He's doing. And that's level three. Now, I'm not surprised if I've lost you at this point because you were like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna, go walking more. Check. I know how I'm gonna be looking out for my body. And more moral. Okay, I know I'm gonna do that. Check. Oh, I'm gonna align myself with the divine. What does that even mean? So I'm not surprised if I have made you think like, wait, I was in and suddenly I'm out. And I'm not sure I said, I don't know if in one podcast episode I can really fully unpack this to where it needs to go. But think of those moments. And I think everybody's had a few where you did feel spiritually aligned, maybe just for a fleeting moment. You did a religious deed and you felt fulfilled and right and aligned. And it could be, from when you've given tzedakah, charity. And it could be just that one time where you prayed and it just felt so right and connected. Or you heard somebody say you went to a class and you suddenly like it clicked. That click feeling, that is that Teshuva Ahava. That is the repentance of divine love. It's just that it usually is so fleeting. And it's catching those moments, creating those moments, and holding those moments that is the third step. And Rav Kook says, the more you do that, the more attainable they become. And it's true. Like I know that for myself. It's kind of like to reduce it, but it's kind of like, going to the gym for me. Like, oh, I don't do it. I don't do it. I don't like it. I don't do it. And then you get in the rhythm and then you do it and then you do like it and then you do feel it and then it is valuable. But you have to start that process and then you do feel it more. It's about the being intentional and the setting the routines around it. Again, I feel like these are all things that I say in coaching calls for grandparents. Again, if you haven't done that, show notes. I would love to do a free courtesy call on Grand Plan. But back to the Teshuva process. These are the three steps for personal Teshuva. Rav Kook talks a lot about national Teshuva and global Teshuva and the whole process of peoplehood and the whole world coming back to its Teshuva. So I keep using the word Teshuva and repentance, but it comes from the word shuv, to return to the ultimate level. So for the world, when you're recycling, that is a level of teshuvah. It is you taking something to the level it should be at or where it should be. And when you plant the garden, teshuvah, and Rav Kook says the world does it for itself, which I don't know if you remember during COVID, there was all these like video footage when people were isolating and at home of like the natural world taking back over itself. And like you would see like deers walking down the street and things like that, that the world has within it its own teshuvah process of it fixing back. And you should keep recycling and you should keep planting plants and making sure that the bees can go and make the honey and all of those things. But I want to bring it back to the three steps of Rav Kook Teshuvah. But I should say, like, okay, I started by saying the 10 days of repentance, Aseret Yemei Teshuvah. It is no way, shape, or form that after Yom Kippur you are done. That's part of the beauty, really, of Rav Kook's models. There's no beginning or end. There's no day where you start or day when you are done. Every day is a day of teshuvah. Every day is a day where you are one, looking after your personal health. Number two, trying to be the best moral person you can be. And three, trying to click in with the divine. It's not easy, but it almost feels like it because as I said, this person like, well, how do you do that? But if I just said to in the TikTok comments, oh, physical health, moral well-being, and spiritual connection, that's what it takes. Like the words don't do it justice. And I'm not sure that today's podcast has done it justice. I recommend for you, for your own life, to really look into Rav Kook and Orot HaTeshuva, to really think for yourself how you can be doing these three and help you and help the world. I said this wasn't really for grandparents, and it isn't, but as long as you've listened for this long, the whole grand plan vision is, I guess, teshuvah for the grandparents to envision your ideal self and work yourself to being there. So I would love to do a coaching call with you, a complimentary one, and maybe you want to sign up and book with me to do ongoing coaching for helping grandparents maximize, I guess, their teshuvah potential, but really their ideal state as a grandparent, whether they're local or far away. My bracha for you is it is attainable and easy that you are able to get your physical health to its ideal form. And, there are all sorts of illnesses and ailments that are incredibly hard to get around, but they are able to still have your body in the best way it can be. That's my first bracha. That being a moral person and a good person is easy. But number three, absolutely, my bracha is that you're able to click in that spiritual way and hold it and relish it and enjoy it this coming year. Gamar Chatima Tova. May it be an incredible year. Shana Tova. Thank you for listening.